Trollord Games. Join the fray.
All right, I think that might have worked. Chuck gave me some down and dirty instructions on how to run the whatever. Those promo videos. Did it work? Did it work, Tim? I think it did. It's not too hard. I'll just have to actually concentrate, something that I don't normally do. So concentrating is entirely too much work. So I try to avoid it when I can. God, it's hot. Well, how's it going, everybody? Commander Bloodwild, how you doing? I think we're here for GM's Tricks of the Trade number 76, The Art of War. This is 1 in 3 parts, though we're going to mix it up. We're not going to do Art of War 1, 2, 3. We're going to do Art of War 1, and then we're going to do another topic, and then Art of War 2, and then another topic, and then Art of... Just to kind of break it up. That way, if you don't really care about running large battles or whatever, it has no impact on your game. Tim, I assume that my video and sound is good. Looks like my mic is working, so that's good. And I can see myself, so I suppose that's good. Alright, good deal. I think we're doing another giveaway today. This one again will be like Tuesdays, where everybody who is here when during the stream will put it up in the 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐜𝐤 and the chat area, and everybody can snag it. Excellent. So Peter Bradley and I are wrapping up the first section of the Monsters and Treasures of Era for 5th edition. Introduction is in. We got a little bit... We've run into a little bit of a snafu with this one, as we do with all of them, it seems. And he just sent me over the preview. Let's see what he did. Well, that's an interesting choice, but alright. Okie dokie, okie dokie. I don't know if I approve of his choice or not. I'll have to see. I love the piece. It's an awesome piece of art. Alright, very cool. But we aren't here for that goobly-goop today. We are here for GM's Tricks of the Trade. Trying to make everything look alike. We're trying to get some good dress going on in some of these books, and it's a lot of attention to detail. A lot of goobly-goop. There's a lot of goobly-goop that goes on in publishing. People don't know that technical terminology. The goobly-goop that goes on in publishing. I think it's much akin to the goobly-goop that seems to go on in the stock market. So I was watching over lunch, what is the movie, The Big Short or something? Which is kind of, relevant to today's headlines with GME and AMC and all of this other stuff that's been going on, and we're not going to go into all that, but that actually made trading places from back in the 80s pop up in my YouTube feed with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. And so I watched a few minutes of Trading Places over lunch as well. I've forgotten how good of a movie that is. I absolutely flipping Eddie Murphy in the 80s is unbeatable. 48 Hours, fantastic movie. Both of them just great movies. 48 Hours is one of my favorite movies. Trading Places, just good movies. Eddie Murphy just made good stuff. And I love Dan Aykroyd. Being a huge fan of Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd's the man, without a doubt. How's it going, Grape? How's it going, Omu? I have my crypto market info in another tab right now. There you go. I remember when Bitcoin came out 317 years ago, I actually thought about Golden Child. I actually thought about buying some, but I didn't know how. I didn't know that the mechanics of it. How do you buy something that doesn't actually exist? Which I suppose is the whole idea behind stocks anyways. But So I didn't explore it and went on about my, whatever. But that'll learn me. Or it won't. There's probably 10,000 other things that I thought about buying that I didn't buy that turned out to be crap. So, so probably in the big picture of things, I'm better off for it all. Crypto is the future if you love stress and anxiety. Yeah, it's the future. The future is going to be an interesting world. I did not get into mining Bitcoin. Still not 100% certain what mining Bitcoin actually means or mining cryptocurrency. I guess there's people or there's coins that were issued to certification or whatever, and we don't know where they are. I have no idea. Did someone drop them in the yard? I have no idea what's going on. Played heavy with my orange juice. That's the scene I watched. Because they're shorted it. That's so funny. What's funny about Trading Places, and I certainly did not know this when I watched Trading Places back in 1980 or whatever, they shorted the orange juice futures. That's how Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy cheated whoever brothers, the two old guys. Cheated them. They didn't cheat anybody, but I think they did. Didn't they fake the futures report, or they knew it was going to be good or something? I can't remember. Regardless, the two old dudes were trying to rig the market, blah, blah, blah. But they short them, which is just interesting. And of course, it's not a coincidence that all this stuff is popping up on my feed because I'm watching the GME stuff unfold, over on the Reddit forum and on the stock market and all that business. So I guarantee you, with news searches and whatever else that I type into the bar, it pops up on YouTube, and YouTube throws in a big short and throws in Trading Places. But the interesting thing is I never knew nor ever would have thought that Trading Places was shorting. But that's what they did. They shorted, which is exactly what's going on, or was going on, I suppose, with the GME Reddit, the Reddit raid. Is that what they're calling it? Do dwarves get a bonus to that? It's like distributed computing. Yes, that's what they're called. It's looking good GameSpot, feeling good AMC, exactly. Yeah, no, it's an interesting. It's I didn't know what any of this stuff meant. Obviously, I'm vaguely aware of the stock market. Whatever mutual funds I got, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to. I probably should, but got games to make. Time for that crap. But when the whole that GME mess was going on for like a week. I follow a lot of financial news, and I'm kind of a news junkie, and I follow financial news because somewhere in my tiny little brain pan, I feel that if you're going to get good reporting, the guys that have their money tied up into everything are going to want good, solid, and sound reporting. So I try to go to the financial networks, and at any rate, this GME crap was exploding all over the place. So I had to sit down and educate myself on what all of this stuff was short. I had no idea what a short was. I'd heard it 1,000 times, but I had no idea what shorting meant. It was just crazy. Trading today is sort of like the art of war. It sort of is. There probably are some nice segues into that. And with that, we'll segue right into the art of war. Wait, Commander Pete's commenting. That's the stress and anxiety thing. The great thing about crypto is that you are totally responsible for your own currency holdings. The terrible thing about crypto is that you're totally responsible for your currency. Yeah, exactly. What is that? What does he tell Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility. I guess he's not Spider-Man. No, he is Spider-Man at the time, right? Peter Parker had already gotten bitten by the spider. I can't remember. I don't know. It's all crazy. It's all a little bit crazy. I think the world's always been a little bit crazy, and I'm okay with that. Got to diversify your crypto holdings, just like your men at arms. That's right. You got to have cavalry and archers and arbalists, and you got to have, what are they? Elephant guys? I don't know. Elephant riders. Don't have elephant riders. It's a horrible tactic. And they never proved effective against the Romans. And I don't think that the Indian use of elephants against Alexander the Great was particularly effective either. So, at best, the elephants could disrupt a unit fortification, a unit structure, and that was about it. And then the Romans discovered that very loud noises scared the living crap out of those elephants. And the Carthaginians had put tons of time and effort. It takes, years and years to train an elephant. So don't ever have an elephant. I know that Lord of the Rings, with its Mamluks, is that what it is? And in the movies, they have these gigantic, huge things stomping around. I don't think so. Maybe if you got a bull, elephant, and musk, and at that point, you're probably going to die if you try to get on top of it. If you try to ride the bull elephant, it's probably not a good idea. All right, so we've eaten up enough time so that hopefully everybody has arrived who's going to arrive. We are here for GM's and mice, according to cartoons, exactly. GM's Tricks of the Trade, number 76, The Art of War. And this is basically what I'm kind of diving into today is when you're running your game, you got a campaign going on or just an adventure going on, and you run up, right into a mass battle where you got armies fighting one another, and now you've got to somehow inject characters into this mayhem and have some kind of plausible or believable outcome or whatever it is, whether planned or not. Battles do occasionally roll across your campaigns, and there's some things I do to either kind of sidestep them or to just run through really, really fast when I don't want to put a whole lot of, or I don't care how the battle turns out because I've got other things going on. I don't care how the battle turns out, or I got to plan it out or what have you. Now I did back in the day, one of the cool things we did, and I can't remember all these war games. We used to play chit-based war games, and we took 3 of them. Lord of the Rings, which is a fantastic game if you've never played that. So it's an Avalon Hill. Oh, it's an SPI. Lord of the Rings, I can't remember. One was Vikings. And we took all these pieces in this one giant map. It was actually a Firefox map, I think. Is that right? I can't remember. Whatever the Army. My dad was in the Army, so and he taught at the Army War College for 4 years. So we had all these Pentagon-level war games in the house. So we used the maps from those and pieces from like 4 or 5 different board games, war games, and had these mass combats. But it would take hours and hours and hours of play, and sometimes you don't have that time, or you don't particularly want to spend that time on it. So today we're going to dive into that mess. I must have understood. I thought you meant the Art of War, as in the band who sang Lowrider. Today's 5 tricks of the trade: how to listen to Art of War, the rock band. Yeah, having never heard of the Art of War, I'm not sure that I would be of any assistance along those lines. But who's to say? Who is to say? All right, so let's dive into trick of the trade number 1. So this one is as easy as it gets. I used this just the other day ICE had a cool Battle of 5 Armies chit-based board game. At least I think it was cool. I lost track of mine 30 plus years ago. It probably was cool. I can't remember the one I had. The one that was the core of what we used was a board game, a box set board game that had a dragon on the front breathing on this castle. It was like a swords and sorcery or swords and something. I can't remember. The cover art was fantastic. The game was cool. But it had all kinds of odd chits in it, like wizards and things like that. And you could take that and merge it with the Lord of the Rings pieces and merge that with Vikings, which if you're into war games, this is an SPI game that came in the bag. Vikings is a fantastic little kind of small set piece. You got one map, and there's like 10 or 15 different scenarios. But you got archers and spearmen and all this other stuff. So if you really want to actually play the game out, and you don't have Troller Games publishes Fields of Battle, that's a miniature based game where you can use your miniatures for pieces. If you get a hold of the SPI game Vikings, I should have pulled that out for this thread, but if you get a hold of that game, the battles take to run one of the battles, the combats in that, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half. So it's not a bad way to do it. I should have thrown that into Tricks of the Trade, actually, though. Being an out-of-print game, it's probably not easy to get a hold of and probably expensive. But I don't know either of those things for any level of accuracy. So we'll go with that. So the first thing that I do, Trick of the Trade number 1, and this is if you have 2 armies colliding together and you just want to get it done and you do not care what the outcome is, I'll have the player roll a dice, and I'm going to roll a dice, and I'm going to base that dice, what dice I pick, on the size of the army, and I'll factor in sometimes the strength of the army or whatever. But so for instance, I almost always start with a D12, primarily because I love the dice of D12, and I feel like it's just an underutilized dice. There's just not many times you roll a D12, so I start with a D12. So each of us are going to roll a D12, and who gets the higher outcome wins the battle. It's as simple as that. Now I'll kind of break that up. If say my army is a third again as big as the army that the player's rolling for, I'll roll a D12. They roll a D8. If it's twice the size, I'll roll a D20 and they'll roll a D10. Whatever. Just something to kind of keep some level of balance to it. If the characters are really super active in the combat, and say one is a knight or a paladin or a warrior with some kind of battle skills, I let them throw in a +1. Give a charisma bonus in there for leading the armies or whatever role they take in it or don't take in it. They're just there, and maybe they encourage the people to fight better. So you can throw in a little bit of a variance in that way, and then I'll factor in the strengths of the army. So if I've got a whole bunch of giants fighting a whole bunch of humans, I'll probably give a couple of extra. I'll bump the dice up to a D20 and leave the characters at a D12 or something like that. It's extraordinarily random. There's absolutely no science to it. There's a very, very basic science to it, very basic approach to it. But the nice thing is you can end that battle with 1 dice roll, 2 if you've got a tie, and then it's over. So you're in like 5 minutes or 32 seconds of actual dice rolling. The combat's over. Now, of course, I always accompany that with lots of descriptive text. Whoever wins, whoever loses, I describe this happening to the army as it falls apart and they're driven off into the forest or whatever it is. I bring in a lot of descriptive text in order to, make it seem, just give it flavor and make it seem part of the campaign. It's not just a quick dice roll and 12,000 NPCs are dead. And Grape Ape, are there mods for archers versus foot soldiers or cavalry versus pikemen? I don't do any of that. Maybe if it's like, if you've got, say a bunch of if the one army has a lot of heavy horse and the other is light infantry, I'll usually bump the dice up maybe or give a bonus. But it's all kind of instinctive from the CK's perspective, the GM's perspective. It's all instinctive. There's no, I don't figure anything out. I don't write anything down. I just size the armies up in my head, figure out which one has an advantage, give them the higher dice, give the other one the lower dice. I'll adjust it a little bit off of like that. And I don't take into account terrain. I don't take into account weather conditions. I don't take into account supply or logistics, any of that stuff. It is a quick, dirty way to resolve this stuff. So if you were to take like the Battle of Agincourt, which we're all familiar with, I don't know that Agincourt was a done deal for the English. It probably wasn't. But clearly all of the factors stacking up against the French, not least of which was their command structure, played against them, worked against them on the combat. So there's many, many things that went into the French's defeat there. But on my end of it, if we're just rolling 2d12s, in that scenario with a bunch of archers and a bunch of light footmen, I would have had the French would have been rolling a d20 and the English probably a d8. So in the way I do it, Agincourt probably would have ended down a French victory because I don't take into account all of that stuff. But these are combats that you just don't give a crap about. You don't care. It plays out. It's going to end. It doesn't really affect your campaign one way or the other. Or if it does, it doesn't have some kind of rippling effect. It's going to change all kinds of stuff. So, it literally just is quick and dirty as you can get it, just to get the battle over with, so you can get back to adventuring. A lot of players don't really care for mass combat. It's kind of drug out and boring, and there's lots of movement of units and whatnot. So it can wear players out. So you got to be careful with making it too, with it consuming an entire game session where the one player ends up doing absolutely nothing for 5 hours of game. Never a good thing. So that's when I pull out trick of the trade number 1. Just roll your dice and hammer it out. So the second thing, the second trick of the trade here. Oh yeah, I got rid of my thingamabobs there. Let's see. Yeah, so the second one is I use as often as I do the first. So in this one, where the battle is actually going to have some kind of impact on my game. I need this battle to end this way. I don't need chance to step in and muck everything up. I drop the dice idea. I don't roll any dice. What I end up doing is I decide how the battle is going to end. I decide why it's going to end that way, and who's going to end up. What tactic or what weather or whatever it is that caused the battle to shift one way or the other. Doesn't matter. I figure all that up into my head before the game session. So when I'm describing it, when I actually sit down and describe the battle itself, I already know where it's going to happen, and I'm bringing these kind of tactical and strategic elements into the game, into the battle itself. However, in order to get the players involved, I'll have them on the battlefield. They take whatever role that you've assigned them. They're on the battlefield, and they're fighting in some little corner, some forgotten wood, on the left flank or the right flank, or even in the center. It doesn't matter. They're holding the fort. It doesn't matter. The characters are doing this fight, and I'll actually play through that fight as if it's a normal combat, at the table. There's no... I don't worry about what's going on in the big picture. I know what's going to happen there. I know how that's going to resolve. And if it's if I know that the big picture is going to be resolved with the character's army's defeat, then I play that into the battle that they're having. You see the army disintegrating around you. People are beginning to stream to the rear. There's wounded all over the place. The orcs are pushing through your flanks on either side of your flank, whatever it is. So the characters know that they're fixing to be overrun. Or conversely, if theirs is winning, the enemy is streaming to the rear. They're wounded all over the place. Your army is pushing them to the left and right on their flanks. And then they can act accordingly. So it's sort of like a mini adventure inside the broader, tapestry that you're weaving for them. And they're just this one small part of this, while all this other stuff is going on. And you're truly being the puppet master there, where you're kind of playing through all that stuff. I want to do a quick shout out. We are doing a giveaway at some point today. I really don't know when. I think everybody in attendance is going to get something. And this is GM's Tricks of the Trade. And though I blather on incessantly, please, any comments you have, any observations you have, questions you have, throw them into the chat here, and let's digest them up. There's some great ideas out there. You guys have been running games as long as I have in many cases. And you're, what is the Blue Oyster? You're veterans. The Blue Oyster Cult song, you're veterans of 1,000 psychic wars. So throw all of your commentary up. And if you can, give us a follow. We sure do appreciate it. You can have the PCs as part of the reconnaissance force and skirmish before the main battle. Yep, Vic Danger, that's actually Trick of the Trade number 3. Absolutely, it's... you really do. I really do what? Bifford, I'm babbling so much, I'm not sure what I do. But Vic, that's a perfect kind of cue into Trick of the Trade number 3. How's it going, Effie? I keep envisioning a high-level player in a mass combat situation as the Berserker at Stamford Bridge. That's an absolutely perfect example. The battle's going on. Does it matter what's happening, who's going to win Stamford Bridge or who's not? Though Harold Godwin's son, was that the one? That's the one who won, right? And then gets killed by Dingleberry, William the Conqueror. Yeah, but that's the perfect example, because there they are fighting their own fight in the midst of this mess, and all of it's just all of the cacophony of battle is happening around them. But you as a GM, you're just focusing really on the dice and the initiatives and the damage and everything that's happening to the players, or to the characters and the monsters around them. It's always good, though, and I do this frequently. There's two sides to this part of having them, and I should really kind of talk about this. There's two sides to this, focusing in on them where you've already decided what the battle's going to be. One, you may have to stretch out your combat, depending on how you run combat rounds and what game you're playing and how fast the combat rounds go. You may actually have to stretch out the combat with the monsters. So you may want to do a give and take where the monsters kind of fall back and whatnot. Because battles, huge armies clashing, battles can take an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours. And obviously combat between, 12 orcs and 4 characters lasts just a couple of minutes. So you may have to actually have to stretch that out somewhat to make it fit. And the other thing to keep in mind, what I try to do while that's going on, while they're fighting in the middle there on the Stamford Bridge, I describe what's happening every couple of rounds. I catch them up with the bigger picture of what's happening with the two armies. So if the one army is, holding and the other one's disintegrating while they're killing these orcs, then I let them know that. So that they can, not only are they focused on their immediate surroundings and the immediate encounter and the immediate battle that they're in, but they're also aware of a bigger picture that's happening. It's kind of it can be a little bit, it can be a little bit dicey because you're trying to describe the players, the blood and the grind and the armor and everything else that's going on in the immediate battle, and then you want to stop that and paint a big picture. So you got to be pretty brief, I think, in all of your descriptions, but it'll help everybody remind them that they're actually on a huge battlefield. Before he caught an arrow with it, caught an arrow with his eyeball. Yeah, that pretty much ended the poor career of he was a king of England, the career of Harold Godwinson. It's a pretty fascinating moment in history. His two battles right there. So, but as Vic Danger had mentioned earlier, in allowing or another way to do mass combats or part of that combat is to have the players' characters be a part of it, but be on the fringes of the combat. And that's Tricks of the Trade number 3 on the Art of War. Just invited a bunch of chefs. Hey guys, look, orcs baking some. There you go, Peter. There you go. So yeah, and essentially what I'll do is kind of the same thing from 2. I know how the battle is going to play out. You've already decided this. You're going to describe what's happening. Blah blah blah, and there'll be an after impact on the party itself as whatever happens. But the idea is that they are involved with the big picture battle, but they're actually not in the big picture battle. How's it going? 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐤𝐬? I can't say that. That's too many vowels. I told Peter the other day that Celtic people have too many vowels. I can't say their words. They look beautiful on paper, though I don't think that's a Celtic name. But there you go. He was sending something over about it. We do a lot of Celtic stuff with Brian Young and Codex 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐤𝐬. So I love Fae too. I love the Fae. That's Celts R's in my goobly goo. But man, there's a lot of consonants in that language. It's crazy. Just call him Jeff. There you go. It'll be easier that way. Otto, Bob, and Jeff. So yeah, Tricks of the Trade number 3 is the big battle is unfolding. It's happening all around them or behind them or in front of them. But your players aren't in it. And they're scouts. They're flankers. Maybe they're coming to the battle late. Maybe they don't even know the battle's happening and they stumble upon it. Whatever the case may be, they have their own encounters with monsters on the fringe somewhere. They can hear the cacophony of war over there in the tree line, but they aren't necessarily in the battle line fighting through it. Now this one, you can roll this one. It doesn't matter however you want to do it, or you could have decided, what the outcome is before it starts. None of that matters. What you're really trying to do is focus in on the players so that you don't have to have some kind of mass combat situation that you've got to resolve. But yet the players are still part of it. And the nice thing about number 3 is just that they are actually part of it. So when the battle is over, lost or won, 10 game sessions later, they're able to say, I was part of the Green Wizard War. And that's just cool. I mean, that's battle accolades that players will carry for their characters forever and a day, especially if it's a huge kind of monumental, history-changing battle like Agincourt or whatever. They can just look back. They were, Henry V, he gives, in Shakespeare, he gives the speech, St. Crispin's Day. I can't remember exactly what he said. Something about it. You were here, dude. You did good or something. I can't remember. Whatever that big speech was that he gives on St. Crispin's Day. Where were you or whatever. So your players actually get to say that, and that's just pretty cool. How's it going, Clever? What did we miss on Epi here? I can't. Blah blah blah. You deserve. Oh no, I'm late. Hides in the back. You're good, man. You're good. Mostly we're just babbling. Players want to know what they are part of in the world. Kilroy was here. Yeah, exactly. weird thing about that 8 to... This is just a weird story. I can't give any credence to it whatsoever. So, I'm sure he was being a smart ass. Years ago, I had a neighbor who was a Marine. He was a Marine veteran from World War II. He served in World War II out in the Pacific Ocean. Not in the ocean, but out in the Pacific Theater. I suppose the Navy's in the ocean. But he was in the Marines. Fought and whatever out the Anderways. And he told me, I got to talking about 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜. I don't even know why that came up in the conversation. He and I talked occasionally. But he told me he was the one that first did that. I'm the one who first did. 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜 was here. I was like, well, someone had to be the first fella to do it. I'm not sure it's you. But it was kind of funny. So very, very weird. But yes, but to your point, yes, they want to be a part of it. I mean, that's kind of the cool thing. We'll just set up camp here on Pelennor Fields. It seems pretty quiet. Yeah, exactly. There you go. You're sitting there smoking your pipe, and what the hell? Yeah, all of a sudden there's 12,000 orcs. I got to tell you, I just finished that chapter. I've been rereading The Lord of the Rings, and I just finished the Ride of the Rohirrim and Battle of the Pelennor Fields, and we're in Houses of Healing now. That series of chapters, that 4 or 5 series of chapters, is still some of the best literature I've ever read. It is captivating. It's visual. It's well constructed. Tolkien outdid himself, and I'm a huge. He just outdid himself there. With Harry the King, yeah, exactly. That was his. You're here with Harry the King. That was his speech. Saying we generally use either battle systems or Kings of War, depends on which players. And I've not used either one of those. I missed Willie's. I am blessed with having a couple of miniature war gamers as my players. They love to fight the big battles. Yeah, if you want to go all in, and we've done that before, both with miniatures and with war games, that stuff is awesome. But make sure that your whole crew, everybody at the table, is in for it, because it can be very slow. It can be a little bit ponderous. So some people get a little bit bored with it. I would say about a third of my players never cared for that stuff. So when I did want to break out the maps and play that, we would have kind of an extra session where those people were they could come if they wanted, but we would just do the battles and then see how they resolve. And the nice thing about actually playing the battle out is you've really brought chance into it, right? There's tactics and strategy and terrain and all that crap, but the dice are going to be a part of it, and you've brought chance to the table. The GM has surrendered their, control of the situation, which is great. I think that I've said that 1,000 times. It's a good idea that the GM do that so that surprises coming their way. That's always a good thing. Keeps you on your toes as a GM. So I love playing those games. I actually started wargaming before I started. I was very little. And Davis would buy those SPI games and Avalon Hill games, and we started playing them. Vikings is one of the first. There were Caesar's Legions. There was quite a few of them back in the long ago days. Hey, new here. Just wondering if you have them to get to the field first and affect the conditions like chopping trees to block a funnel enemy forces. Now, Lazy Kobold, that is an absolutely perfect example of Trick of the Trade number 3, where we're talking about have the players not necessarily directly in the combat, but they are a part of the combat. And that is a perfect way to do it. They go in, as reconnaissance and start prepping the battlefield. And then they are part of this thing. They're doing something meaningful, and you can throw monsters in, you can throw all kinds of stuff in. You can do all kinds of stuff with that. So that's an absolutely great idea, and exactly what we're talking about. You're letting them be, or you're making them, allowing them, however you want to phrase it, to be a part of the battle that's coming without actually having to play the battle out or have them on the field doing whatever. To let you know, I've done all of this stuff at one time or the other. It's been years since I've done the chit-based war games, but it's a wide variety of things, and I choose my outlet, the way I'm going to handle the battle based on who's sitting at the table, how much time we have, and what I want out of the battle as well. So there's a whole bunch of factors that kind of tumble into this mess. And these specifically are ways to kind of artfully dodge around having to use, like I said, we have a Troller Games has Fields of Battle. Castle Keeper Guide covers some of this, and there's just tons of systems out there that you can use to resolve this mess. Let's see. Or would that be more work than yours? No, Lazy Kobo, that is a fantastic suggestion. That's absolutely great. Anything that makes the characters rolling, attribute checks or skill checks or perception checks, or whatever your game calls for, anything that get them involved, that they're an active participant in that battle, means that they get to wear the accolades. Do you wear accolades? Is that right? I don't think that's right. But at any rate, they get to talk about it. It becomes part of the history of their character. Kilroy in the UK was known as Squandabug during World War II. I saw a Kilroy was here on the outskirts of Baghdad. That's kind of cool. It lives on. So if my neighbor did invent it, and maybe, I don't know. I don't know the origin of Kilroy was here. I suspect strongly he was just being an ass. He was a nice fellow, but he could be kind of an ass. And have a table that can be set for the whole weekend. Yeah, that's the big thing about wargaming. Here, what was it? Davis loved the Civil War, the American Civil War board game called Civil War, and then there was another one. Was it Fortress Europa? No, there was another World War II one that lasted. No, it was the Gulf War. The Gulf War would last, oh my God, 36 hours. So we would flip the mattress off of his bed or my bed, and you got the box springs there, and we'd set the map up on the box springs and play there, and one of us slept on the mattress on the floor. Those things can last a long time. And bribing the referee, always bribe the referee with Dr. Pepper. Gettysburg was a great game. Oh yeah, a live action war games. I'm not sure this would work for our subject today, Pete. Maybe. For battling it out, do you use swarms or men-orc enemies? How do the players fight those kinds of enemies? One-on-one or against the block of enemies? So I love those type of combats, and I'm actually going to talk about that in the next Art of the War a little bit. What I'll do, so when I take the player at the characters and I want them to be in the midst of this combat and these armies are swarming over them, I pull as many miniatures out as I humanly can, and I've got quite a collection, and I'll start feeding them onto the map. I'll draw out the terrain on the battle map. Their miniatures will be there, and then I just wave them. I just do them in waves, and it is every orc gets to swing, every player gets to swing, and now of course, and we're gonna get more into this later. You got two characters standing next to each other. You're not gonna be able to get 15 orcs swinging simultaneously. It's gonna be 3 at best, maybe 4. And even then, if it's 4 swinging at them, I'll have the orcs start suffering minuses as they slip over each other. So I definitely do. I love the block. I love just the waves, the swarms, as you say. I love the swarms of miniatures. And I'm not gentle with my miniatures. Once they kill one, it stays on the field because I want to know where the bodies are, because I bring bodies into play. I can't count the number of times people have stepped into a rib cage and got their foot hung, slipped in blood. All kinds of stuff. I try to keep all of that chaos. What I really want to do when I'm doing swarm type of combats is I want to keep as much chaos at the table, the shaky camera syndrome, as I possibly can. And I love the swarm, and I love how it looks, just every bit of it. And sadly, some of my miniatures get kind of beat up, but that's all right. That's their purpose in the world, I suppose. And they're not really painted, so it's no big deal. Some are painted, but not very well. It was Colonel Mustard in the billiard with a robe. Yeah, there you go. We like another excuse to drag in all the painted armors. Yeah, that's what it becomes. Gotta know your chit running those kind of games. Yeah, those games were cool, though, because they always had basic rules and advanced rules. And like Vikings, you could set up, I think it was 2 pages you had to read, and you were playing the game. It's very simple stuff. And there's a level to it that... an intuitive level that allows you to kind of just start rolling strategy out immediately, and you'll see it better because you can see the armies and you can see how they interact. It had chariots. Vikings actually had, you could get expansion packs to it too, if I remember. You could get the elephants and stuff like that. But Vikings is a good game. I think it's called, like 90% certain it's called Vikings. Let me look that up. I believe it was an SPI game. Yeah, it came in a bag, as I recall. No, okay, well, mine came in a bag. Here's one. I don't know if this is going to work. This is not going to work. I don't know if this will work. Someone just posted it up here. Viking, I suppose it was called. I don't know if that'll open for you guys, but there it is. Wait, Tim's hollering at me. Tim's yelling at me about something. Okay, yeah. So I forgot. If you're new here, please give us a follow. We sure do appreciate it. We're going to be doing the giveaway here very soon. Tim's got that set up. He'll be throwing it up into the feed. Everybody who is here will be able to use the coupon and download and have it. I don't really know what it is. That's not my department. So that's Tim and Chuck's department. I see when playing out the battle, be careful about hit points. Big battles boil minis down to 1 or 2 bit hits. Oh yeah. Swarms do too. And I've kind of adopted this. You'll appreciate this. I've adopted this rule for high level characters. I don't do it so much against low level, but if I have, like, say there's 5 characters and there's 50 orcs or 50 zombies or 50 skeletons rolling over them. Now, when you start getting high level characters, it gets tough to hit them because their armor class is 26 or 25 or whatever the hell it is. So I'll do this swarm damage where each round the players just take a point of damage. It's just exhaustion. There's so many enemies coming at them, clawing at them, hitting them, scraping their armor, pulling on them, that they just take a point of exhaustion damage. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but if the combat continues to run on for, a number of rounds, it'll start to grind them down. And then, of course, they occasionally take actual damage, and it starts getting scooped. It's just more of a chaos to it. Absolutely love it. Let's see. Thanks for responding to all my book inquiries. I hope you don't mind. I am sure there will be more to come in the future. No, absolutely not. I'm a huge bibliophile. I'm a huge reader. I actually I had to get all the titles and stuff. I got them all piled on my book. There's Richard. And this book, William, Flower of Chivalry. I recommend everybody read this. This will give you this guy right here, William Marshall. He is literally the living embodiment of your player character. This guy, when he was 5 years old, his father rose in rebellion against King Stephen, and he was given as a hostage to King Stephen, and then his father broke terms, and King Stephen said, I'm going to throw this little boy, this 5-year-old boy, I'm going to put him in a catapult and throw him against your wall and kill him if you don't surrender. And William's father said, essentially, my loins are young and I can make more children, so have at it. Well, Stephen, not being an ass, couldn't throw the child against the wall and took him into his household. So William becomes a knight, is extraordinarily successful at it, starts gaining wealth. He goes on to serve Henry II. He goes on to serve Richard. He goes on to serve John. He goes on to serve Henry III, and amassing this tremendous fortune in wealth and accolades and victories on the battlefield. He literally is your character embodied in real life. It's a good read. It's real short. Strongly recommend it. Flower of Chivalry. William Marshall, The Flower of Chivalry. But yeah, clever. Anytime. I love jibber-jabbering about books. As we creep up to number 4, this is going to be the easiest. Please, if you haven't, give us a follow. We sure appreciate it. Any and all support you can show. So number 4, Art of the War. And again, this is how to quickly bypass large combats if you don't want to get into all of that mess. The players just miss it. You've decided what's going to happen, or you roll dice, or however you want to resolve that, but the players aren't actually in it. And I actually did this about a year ago. I had this gigantic battle all planned out. It was going to run all along the length of this river. It was just a whole thing between Kael'mar and the wild men of the Tar Kiln. It was very cool, but when game time came, I was way too exhausted to run the combat. I ended up, they went on this kind of side thing, and they missed the entire battle. The whole thing was over when they came back. There's dead all over the field, blah, 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 blah. So a very easy way to do it is just step them out of it, and the battle happens while they're over here, in the outhouse, whatever it is that they're doing. But yeah, so Trick of the Trade number 4 is the easiest and the quickest of them all. They just missed it. So that leads us to Trick of the Trade number 5, which is kind of a combination of the first 3. I think we've kind of already touched on this. They're part of the battle. They're not necessarily with either one of the armies, but they're caught up into it. So they're to the left, right, or center of this wherever this battle is happening. They're fighting. There's orcs fighting men. This flanking troop of orcs comes around, finds the players. Suddenly the players are fighting it, and blah, blah. They're in the battle. They never intended to be. They have no stake in this game. None of it matters. but you want them to be a part of it, so just throw them on the edge of it somewhere. It's kind of, it's an easy way to do it. You're still maintaining the integrity of encounters and keeping it really small and contained and easy to do. So you don't really have to, you don't even have to include them in any way in the combat. They don't have to be doing anything in the combat or have anything or any relation to it whatsoever. They simply happen to be the wrong, I think someone said this a minute ago in the stream, they happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and wha-bam, they're caught up into it. So it just becomes, it's just a very nice tool to make it just easy. And still you got to have a kick-ass encounter, and because that encounter is vaguely attached to the army of one of the combatants, they're part of the battle. They were reluctantly or unknowingly, is really the word we're looking for, part of that conflagration. Day late, dollar short. Yeah, there you go. That's what that trick of the trade's called. Day late, dollar short. One game session I was in lasted 48 hours in one go. Yeah, that's a long one. That's longer than my longest. Combat got really silly when the sleep deprivation hit. Yeah, I think we did about 38 hours as long as we did, and the end of that game was ludicrous. I don't remember much about it. Just exhausted people everywhere. So much easier than picking up TSR's battle system. It's a good system. I remember that not long ago, actually long ago that we played it, but we also have Fields of Battle. There's a lot of good systems out there, but a lot of them do you got to stop what you're doing and build the armies and put it together, and you may not be inclined to do that, and your players may not be inclined to do that. Not everybody's a war gamer. I certainly am. I love them. I can, if it's an old chit-based game, I can play those almost as readily as I can play an RPG. Wait, what are we doing? It's ready to go. What's happening? Did we do the giveaway? Did I miss it? What's going on? It's time we're giving away the Mirrored Soul and Other Tales Digital today. To get it, okay, yeah, we did the giveaway. There you go. I completely missed it. Yes. So follow that link and use Twitch Soul as at checkout, and you can pick up. This is a collection of short stories. So they're all standalone short stories, but this is the second set of stories about 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬 and Ava the Ranger. The first set is A Houseless God and Other Tales. And to give you just kind of a really, really brief, the first tale is just about 𝐓𝐫𝐤, and the second tale is just about 𝐓𝐓𝐤, and then the third tale, he meets Ava, and in the fourth tale, they end up fighting this houseless god. And then in this second set of short stories, sort of fiction, the two of them leave the Darkenfold Forest. It's all set in Aird. They leave the Darkenfold Forest and wander into the north, and that's the giveaway today is the Mirrored Souls, and there's 4. You're going to have a Dryad encounter, a Demon encounter. I can't remember the other 2, but it is definitely set in Aird. It begins in the Darkenfold. They go up into the Shelves of the Mist and then cross the plains of 𝐓𝐫𝐚. I have written the next series. The next 3 are written, and I think I'm halfway through the 4th one. I've either written the 4th one and I'm on the 5th one. I can't really remember. It's been a few months since I looked at it. So those should be out relatively soon, within the next 4 to 6 weeks or so. And they're up in the Gotland at this point. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm tracking these two and the growth of their adventuring party. They meet this priest on the road, and then they have met a dwarf on the road. And these things are kind of all weaving in and out as they slowly build this network. And I've got a novella planned next that I hope to get to in a few months. That'll be the Dunhollow Pools, where they go on an adventure trying to rescue the soul of the priest who's captured by a dryad. So that's the giveaway today. I hope you all enjoy it. And if you do, check out A Houseless God. It is on the website. It may still be for free, too. I know we gave the Player's Handbook, the Monsters and Treasures PDF away for free, so you might be able to get that Houseless God for free. I don't know. You have to ask him. I don't know. I have no idea. So, very cool giveaway. I like getting something else other than RPG material. I have enough of it that lasts me for 5 lifetimes. Yeah, don't we all? I got so much RPG stuff. It's crazy. Steve, you already know I look forward to your fiction. Thank you, Clara. Very much appreciate it. I really want, one of the things that I plan to do as I plunge into the Planescapes this year is start rolling this fiction out. I really want to flesh out Aird kind of from a fiction perspective so people can kind of see the way I see the world and and hopefully get into it even more. So lots and lots of fun. And no problem, 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, thanks for showing up. Thank you all for showing up. We sure appreciate it. And thank you for all the follows. It's very, very helpful. Any kind of attention you can throw our way, we sure appreciate it. That sounded horrible. It sounded very needy. If you can follow us, we would appreciate it. I think Davis would clock me if he heard me say that. I'm not fully familiar with Arid yet, but are you basically doing gazetteers for many of the areas? Is that what the expansions are? Yes. So we're doing a whole series of gazetteers expansions. They're called Codex of Arid expansions. I don't think I have one here. We've done Gotland, Kaomar, Darkenfold, and Alfstrag, I think, are the 4 we've done, and I'm working on the Marbeline Coast now. And this, essentially, if you go to the World of Anvil, or if you look at the World of Arid, that's it behind me, actually. Each of the places that is mentioned in the world will be given a brief write-up. Now, to be very clear, what I do when I'm writing these things is I try not to take away from your ability as a GM to flesh it out, to develop it, and to do things that you want to do with it. So I essentially just give background material to give you kind of a stories of this is such, and then the local flora and fauna. I try to keep it contained just enough to hopefully feed your imagination, but not so much that it dampens it, because as we all know, settings are great, but we all as GMs and players love to create, and if you're giving the setting that everything's covered, then you don't get to create much. Now, it's one of the designs purposely built into the World of Arid. It's just after the Winter Dark, so the world is reborn, and everything is new. Everything's like 90 years. I think we're 90 years into the new age, so that when you jump into it as a GM or a player, you can make it your own. And that's really one of the things that I think is important in a setting for RPGs, because you guys are going to game differently than I game differently, than they game differently, than they game differently. You're going to be interested in this and interested in that. I'm going to be interested in this. So it's important that you're able to take this and roll with it. And one of the things that we don't do is we don't update it. So this was first released in 2000, and it released again in 2015, and I'm not advancing the timeline. That's y'all's job. I'm not doing that. But all it's done is more stuff is fleshed out. These things are just more fleshed out. How's it going, Green Lumpton? No problem, Great Babe. Much appreciated you stopping by again. As always, love jibber jabbering with you. What is Babunski up to? Leave a review, guys. Reviews are very much appreciated. That helps a lot. I have no musical ability. Yeah, I have none, Commander. I'm not sure what you're referencing to, but I got 0 musical talent. 0. So we got more of those gazetteers coming without a doubt. Does your bookshelf have any plant guides on it? We've got, there's no plant guides on it, but in the Codex of Arid and in the Player's Guide to Arid, there are flora is mentioned. So there's specific types of flora. One of my favorite things from The Lord of the Rings is when Aragorn goes off and he finds I can't remember the name of the plant, but he goes off and finds that plant and he makes a tea out of it and it heals Frodo or whatever it does. I always thought that was such a cool fantasy, Athelos, yes. I always thought it was such a cool fantasy concept that it just takes it beyond, it takes the magical healing potion, idea, which is cool, and it makes it very, very real. This plant has whatever magical qualities or medicinal, whatever you want to do, however you want to see it as a reader. That's the beauty of it. So I always love that stuff. So I've developed that, inspired me to develop some of that, not nearly enough, but some of that for the World of Arid. So you do have fauna mentioned in a couple of the books. We actually got a book on herbalism coming, don't we, Babunski? I believe Babunski is writing us the herbalism book. It makes the world a world. Yes, it does. It's this is one of the things that we talk about a lot in Tricks of the Trade. It's little details like that. When in previous tricks I've talked about when you're describing terrain, whatever you're describing, it doesn't matter. Use real world terminology just a little bit. Sprinkle a little bit in there. Say the dogwoods are in bloom. It's an elm tree. It's a sycamore tree. Whatever, just to give a taste of realism to it. And it doesn't matter whether the players know what that looks like. It doesn't matter if you know what that looks like. It's just details that give depth to something so that the imagination it's already fired up, but it's fleshed out now with enough real world terminology, enough understandable terminology, and even if you make up the names of those words, it doesn't matter. It grounds your players. It brings your players into the world even more. It's just a great way to do it. I can't wait to chat with you over Elisa's stream. That's going to be a lot of fun. So that's on Tuesday, I think. I think that's on Tuesday, Green Lantern. I think Tuesday at like 3. Yeah, so I forgot. I'm streaming next Tuesday at 3 on Elisa Faden's, or Wednesday. I don't know. I think it's Wednesday. I don't know. Don't quote me. It's somewhere. What kind of expertise does Babunsky have with herbs? We'll see. Herbalism, flora, plant, and alchemy always has played a big part in my CNC games. That's badass. Yeah, I love that stuff. I absolutely love it. And Gary Gygax I've got that here somewhere. If you can get a hold of this book, we published this back in 03 or 02. It is chock full of this material. And yes, the World Builder is just... And let me tell you, when he submitted this to us and said, this is book 2 that I want to publish, and I read it the first time, in rough draft format, it began to change the way I DM. I mean, it was astounding, because this is what I'm talking about with details. There's so much, it's almost impossible. And he just touched on it. We were, when he passed away, we were working on World Builder 2, but it's just filled with terminology. It's just a beautiful book. Here's my favorite section is on the trees. I just lost it. You got hawthorn, Hercules, hickory, hornbeam, horseapple, ironwood, locust, maple, oaks, peaches, prickly, chestnut, cedars, birch. I mean, there's so many. If you can get this book, get this book. I think it's $400 now, but something like that. I think it's on eBay or something. I hope one day you can reprint all those. Yeah, I do too, Extort. You never know what the future holds. I never close the door like that. I'd love to do all 7 volumes again. Knowing what I know now, we could improve the books more with just better layout, better art. There's a lot we could do with it, but who knows what the future holds. So, you need the Maelstrom Doomsday book for the herbs section. There you go. Storyteller's Dictionary. I love that book, and I love the Storyteller's Thesaurus, and Jim Ward has pitched us heavy on another one, a mythological thesaurus, which I think would be really, really cool. You can improve them with me as your editor and proofreader. That continues to dog us wherever we go. Finding editors is hard. Yeah, Extort, they're hard to get. I mean, I think on eBay they're like $400 a piece, if not more. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's the dictionary. Oh yeah, no, those things are evergreens for us. Not a week goes by that we don't ship dictionaries and thesaurus out. It's nice. We've got about 10 books in the stables that act that way. It's very, very nice. And we owe all that to you guys. I mean, you guys are fantastic, supported the company for years and years and years, and we certainly appreciate it. Even coming out and joining me on Twitch, it's a fantastic community. If you're a part of this community, you are in a good community. There is no doubt. A hobbit in the house. There you go. You can never lose. No, insert rant about Gygax right holders. Yeah, exactly. Take any random rant on the internet and jam it in there, and you're good. The holy grail of your repertoire, if you ask me. They're good books. They really are. I still remember when one of the CNC Game Masters screenshot of I remember that. That was funny than hell. Wars are bad. Don't have them. Keep it peaceful. There you go. Okay, so Babakas is going to walk us out with trick of the trade number 6. Just don't have it. The art of war is horrible. War is a terrible thing. The war just passes you by. Or they have a peaceful resolution on everything. There you go. Doesn't really fit the tone of most of my games, but who knows? Sometimes peace is found. Often it's found on the other side of the battlefield, but there you go. I didn't. That's not an original quote. That comes from the movie, probably the book. We Were Soldiers Once and Young. Great movie, great book. Read them and watch them. The best sort of victory in the battle is when you can win without fighting. Sun Tzu. There you go. You can peacefully devour the weaker, delicious race. There you go. Peace sells out. Who's buying? There you go. All right, everybody. That's it for me. We will be back. I will be back on Tuesday for Ask Me Anything, Tuesday at 4 o'clock. And then I'm in a Lisa Faden stream sometime next week. Look it up somewhere. I don't know when that is. I think it's Wednesday at 3. And again, Thursday for Jim's Tricks of the Trade next week. Please join us. We sure appreciate everybody coming out. Hope you enjoy the read. Leave us a review and all that blather, blah, blah, blah. Y'all have a great rest of your week and a fantastic weekend. And we will see you next week. Thank you, everybody.